Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. I don't feel as if it's appropriate to give the podcast its usual title on this somber Friday following the Europa League final. It was not the podcast that we wanted to be doing, but this is the card we've been dealt, and Manchester United have been defeated 1-0 in the Europa League. That's our fourth defeat to Spurs this season, and I have to say it looked like 16th against 17th in the Premier League this final because it was a real lack of quality on the night, a real scrappy game, and the goal was befitting of a game like that against two very very poor opponents. Well, it just ricocheted off Brennan, then on to Shaw, and then Onana made a meal of it, and it was just a real scruffy goal, and that ended up deciding the game. Now United had a few chances. Ahmad had one that flashed across goal in the first half, and nobody managed to. He didn't get it quite on target. And nobody managed to to put it home from close range. And then Bruno had a header, diving header, which he put well wide. Garnacho made a chance for himself. He cut in on his right, but Vicario made a decent save. Then deep into injury time, Luke Shaw had a header that Vicario also saved. So
There was also the Kung Fu kick heroics by Mickey van der Ven off the line.
yes, it was a header from Hoyland,
Yeah.
and it was a bit of a looping header. Didn't quite have the
hmm
power on it.
Yeah,
And
if only it was a few inches higher, but yeah, incredible stuff to do what he did on the line.
but
Yeah,
he kind of knew he was going to get there. When he
yeah,
because the ball was traveling in slow motion, and you could see
yeah.
him.
It was
Yeah,
just such a frustrating night, Carl. I think we spoke about it before the game. We said, the one thing we need to avoid is silly mistakes. And if you look at
mhm.
that goal that we conceded, that's exactly what it was, just calamitous all around. It could have been avoided and it wasn't. And then also, one of the concerns I had was watching how they set up against Bordeaux Glimpse in the second leg, where they completely stunk the place out. Like they didn't really need to attack or get out of second gear after they went ahead. So I think that's the most frustrating thing. They knew that they could just, put numbers in the box and we wouldn't have any
Yeah.
answers, and we didn't really.
And it's the third time this season that we haven't scored against Spurs. They were probably
Yeah.
pretty confident that if they got in front, they could keep United out, and that's exactly what
Yeah,
happened.
that's the thing. And it's such a shame we didn't get that goal because I do think had it been 1-1, I think the momentum probably would have been with us. But it's just really frustrating that we couldn't break them down.
I think you're right. I was thinking during the second half that if we can get one here, I
hmm
fancy us to be the team that wins it then. But
Same, same. But when that goal doesn't come, it can be incredibly frustrating. And that's how it turned out, unfortunately.
what a shithouse Christian Romero is. Just
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And what a performance they put in as well, man, at the back. Credit to them. Yeah, it is deeply disappointing. Obviously, we knew, the financial implications of losing this match as well. For me, at the end of the day, it wasn't even that. It's just at the end of the day, it's a trophy. Nobody likes to go into a final and lose. So first of all, I'm just annoyed and pissed off that we've missed out on the trophy itself. And secondly, obviously, yes, there would have been financial incentives, which means that now we have to go back to the drawing board and be wise with what money we have.
we'll get to that later in the show, but
hmm
we'll just focus on the game for the moment. Yeah, it was an absolutely appalling final, but no Spurs fan will give a shit about that.
Nope.
Essentially, they did to us what Liverpool did to them in 2019 in the Champions League final.
Basically,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I did feel bad for them in that one because I mean, there was a penalty like 30 seconds in, so you're already, on the back foot. With
Yeah.
our one, come around the 40th minute, I'm thinking, right, just keep it tight, boys. Try and make it to half time at 0-0, and then we were robbed of that. And in such a typical way as well of this season, just a goal that could have been prevented, and that's what annoys me. That guy in goal, we need to have serious conversations about him, Carl.
Oh, it was just calamitous.
Yeah.
I think I don't know how UEFA initially decided to give the goal to Brennan
Mhm.
Johnson because it was a no
Yeah, there's
goal.
no way. There's no way you could give it to Brendan Johnson. it was madness. And also another thing as well, selection wise at the start, in our preview we said, the concerns at the back would be if Lindelof and Shaw start, and we thought at least one of them would start, and they did. Were you surprised that Shaw stayed on after half time?
Yeah, well, I wouldn't have been surprised if he came off, but l- l-
Yeah,
let's just say that your concerns about Luke Shaw were vindicated. Uh,
yeah, because at half time I would have hooked him. What I wanted to see at half time was I would have put Dallo on, probably moved him out to right wing back, Mazraoui to right centre back, and then shifted Euro across to the left hand side of that defence.
yeah, I wouldn't have been against that. But
Yeah,
did you think Luke Shaw was too slow to get there? And obviously, Dorgu completely lost Brennan Johnson as well, didn't track
yeah,
the run. And
yeah. So it's a calamity of errors in it. So it's a group effort. So yeah, everybody did their part to contribute to to conceding that goal. And then obviously with the goalkeeper, he dives like a fish out of water, doesn't he? Just uh, he's
yeah,
stuck
if
in a
it's
one man matrix. That man, the reaction speed, everything is just all nonsense.
yeah, yeah, if De Gea is in goal there, quite possibly it stays 0-0.
Yeah.
Um, this is why a goalkeeper is so important. That if
Hmm.
if a, a little ricochet goes against you there
Yeah.
and it's heading towards the goal in
Like
slow
I know,
motion.
I understand it. I understand it's a high pressure situation, and obviously these are things are happening in a split second. But you need to be alert to it. This is what we pay you for.
Mm,
And he just hasn't got the fundamentals of what makes a good goalkeeper. He doesn't have it.
yeah, it's something that badly needs addressed, and we'll get to that a wee bit
Hmm.
later as well. Um, so I want to talk to you about the manager's selections and substitutions or
Hmm.
lack thereof.
Yeah.
Um, so I know it's easy to say this as a fan in
Hmm.
hindsight, but I said it beforehand. Everybody heard me say it. I didn't want Hoyland to start this game,
Yeah.
and he was once again predictably very, very
Hmm.
poor. Contributed nothing. The manager also decided to go for Mason Mount, which I was not against, I'll be honest, but
Hmm.
he contributed next to nothing as well. And he dropped Garnacho for Mount, which turned out to be a mistake because Garnacho was very impactful when he came off the bench. Now, picking Hoyland ahead of Xerxes, I can't criticize him for that because Xerxes had no match fitness. He hadn't played for 6 weeks, so I can
Exactly.
understand that. But Xerxes was
Yep.
very good when he came on as well, offered so
Hmm.
much more than Hoyland. At the back, like you were concerned about him picking Shaw, and he played the entire game. He almost equalised at the death,
Yeah.
and imagine Shaw scoring both ends in a final. That would have been quite something.
Hmm.
But wasn't meant to be. And thankfully, Euro made it, and Lindelof didn't play. And yeah, I would have had Mazraoui as part of the back three there, and
Yeah.
but then I suppose Dalot had been out for a number of weeks, and maybe he wasn't
Hmm.
ready to start at the right
Yeah,
right wing
that's what
back.
I mean. That's what I mean. When I look at that starting lineup, I can't critique it too much because when you factor in the fitness and where people are at, he obviously gambled. I don't think there was a right or wrong decision to be fair. And even with Dallo, I probably would have brought him on as a sub. But yeah, that is a change that I would have liked to have seen at halftime. But again, like you say, hindsight is a wonderful thing. I think a fair few fans we were quite frustrated that the changes didn't come early enough. I think that would be our complaint. There obviously were changes, and it did make a difference when Garnacho came on. It was more direct. We had more shots on goal. But again, I can't say that I was really too affected by that when I saw the team sheet because, like you, I didn't have a problem with Mount starting. I think the only thing we discussed that was different that we would have had is that we would have dropped Hoyland and it would have been maybe a false nine kind of situation. And then Garnacho started. But we know what Garnacho can provide off the bench as well as an impact sub when there's tired legs out there. So I'm not totally against that either. But yeah, there's one or two things I definitely would have liked to have seen. I would have liked to have seen, Hoyland come off a Garnacho would have been nice, and then maybe to swap Mount and Bruno. I would have liked to have seen Bruno further forward, and I think maybe seeing Ugarte at one stage would have allowed the others to push on a bit more as well, and we didn't see that.
Yeah, if we factor in who was available and who was match fit to start, uh, the only change I would have made is I would have putting Mount in for Hoyland and not
Mhm.
Garnacho. Uh,
Yeah.
yeah, I think that was. Although I did say that he is impactful from the bench, but I tell you
Yeah.
what, he was very, very annoyed that he didn't start the game. You seen the interview that he did in Spanish with reporters
Yeah,
after
yeah,
the
yeah.
game.
I've heard the translation of that. I mean, I think people are just very easy to lose their minds over the littlest things. I mean, listen, on the back of a defeat like that, in the heat of the moment, the kid's going to speak his mind. And obviously he's annoyed and he's got every right to be as a player. So I didn't read too much into it, if I'm being totally honest with you.
No, and the manager might see that as a good thing that he's annoyed they didn't start. No,
Yeah, yeah,
sometimes
you want our players to be annoyed when they don't start. And
y-
obviously, from his perspective, like what he said, that it reigns true. I
the
can understand his
y-
frustration.
the media are looking for a fight between players and
That's what it
managers.
is. They're trying to pit everyone against each other, and we got to rise above it. Like I honestly didn't see any issue. And then on the other hand, Amarim spoke about it as well, and they tried to clip a small part of what he said as well, and they're trying to
Mm,
paint this narrative, and it really isn't that.
I think Amram, during an answer that he was given to a question,
Hmm.
he said he was asked about why he picked Mount ahead of
Yeah.
Garnacho, and he said who missed the chance 1-on-1 in the semi-final, and yeah,
Exactly. So he was just trying to highlight that, listen, had he gone the other way, you lot would have asked me the opposite question. Like, because Mount came on and had an impact. So, it's
but
one of those.
I believe that Garnacho's brother has been, venting online again and
Mm.
mentioning these things apparently.
Unfortunately, we've got previous examples of this. We are not responsible for the family members of players, and they will go online and do all sorts. We've
Yeah,
had it with Harry Maguire's misses. We've had it with Rashford. Other people over the years. It is what it is. We can't get
I've,
involved in that.
yeah, I've heard about Garnacho's brother before,
Yeah.
having far too much to say on social media. But what I didn't realize was he's actually like 14 or 15. So what do you
Well, there you
expect?
go.
What do you expect? Like,
Well, there you go. Yeah, your hormones are all over the place. You're a teenager, and your big brother's out there. Yeah, you're about to feel a certain type of way. But yeah, I bet you none of the media platforms that have reported on his brother's comments highlighted how old he was.
yeah, I heard one journalist mention it, and that was it.
Okay, yeah.
So, but for me, the I don't think it's going to be a big issue because Garnacho's got previous for doing this,
Hmm.
showing his frustration
Yeah.
of not starting games or being
Hmm.
substituted or whatever, and he's always been selected after that by the manager.
Yeah.
So and the manager might see it as a positive that he was annoyed that he
Hmm.
didn't start. And the media might see it as a negative that he's undermining the manager in public. That's the way they'll dress it
Yeah.
up as. But really, he's just a guy showing frustration after a loss that he didn't start in. And
That's exactly it. And it's the heat of the moment. And yeah, I don't. What fit condition is anyone to do an interview
I
after
know,
a game
do
like
you
that?
know that the media complain when players are
Yeah,
robots? Then when they show
yeah.
emotion, they
And then they
complain about
give,
that
yeah,
too.
yeah, 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 yeah. They give actual emotion and actual answer, and then they just twist the words. You can't win. Damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's a nonsense.
Yeah. So we'll see what happens with that one. Of course,
Mhm.
like Manu, his future is still up in the air because especially with the PSR situation. Of course, United
Yeah.
losing the game means they missed out on 100 million. Uh,
Mm.
I mean, the trophy was probably more important to Spurs, and the money was more
Mm.
important to Man United.
Yeah.
But we didn't get that, and now we've seen 200 more redundancies are
Mm.
coming, including scouts and the medical department. Um, so, and I could see, like, according to Samuel Luckhurst, the sales of Anthony, Rashford, and Sancho are going to be prioritized.
Yeah.
But I also think now there's going to be a real need to sell Casemiro because we've
Mhm.
seen how he struggles against Premier League opposition. There's no
Yeah.
European football next season, so there's almost
Yeah.
going to be no need for him whatsoever on those big wages. He's probably hardly going to.
Oh, most definitely. But I think that's always been the case. Even if we got Champions League football, Carl, I think it would have been one of those where if the opportunity arose to get rid of him, I 100% think they would have taken it. Um, and
Yeah,
then, it's just one of those where you try and look at the positives because the likelihood is that he's going to stick it out because who the hell in their right mind will take those wages off your hands, apart from Saudi.
Yeah, and he's very settled in Manchester as well, so
Yeah, yeah,
it's going to be
yeah.
an
He's a
uphill
family
task.
man, isn't he? So yeah, and I mean, I'd be settled too, Carl. On
But
350 grand
but
a week.
so he could potentially just be sitting on the bench for an entire season getting paid that money.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. But unfortunately, that it is what it is. You reap what you sow. That's negligence from the previous regime, and we have to just live with that. You know. The
yeah,
same with Luke Shaw. I mean, I'm sure all of us would like to see Luke Shaw leave, but again, we understand that in his position, it's likely that he's going to see out the remaining 2 years of his contract.
yeah, it was a big gamble. I know the manager didn't have too many options. Obviously, he had Lindelof
Yeah.
and Aiden Haven on the bench, but he decided to start Shaw, who had only previously started 4 games in 14
Yeah.
months. To start a final after you've started 4 games in 14 months, that's a big gamble by the manager, and it didn't really pay off. Very
No,
late.
it didn't. It didn't.
Mm,
But I think it's so hard to critique though, because as much as we don't like to see him start, Aiden Heaven's shown in recent weeks as well that, you know, he's still very raw, very, very raw, and he's going to take time. So to throw him in to a cup final would also have been risky. And then with Lindelof or Shaw, I mean, take your pick. You know, you can flip a coin. Both of them give us a reason for concern.
yeah, definitely. I think Lindelof is probably slightly worse given what I've seen in recent weeks.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
I think I definitely wouldn't have wanted him to. If I had to pick, it would be Shaw, to be honest.
Yeah, I
Um,
was surprised actually that he, played as long as he did.
we could say if we had Martinez and Delict or one of them available,
Yeah.
it might have been a different
Oh, most
result.
definitely, most definitely. If
But
we had either of those available, yeah, yeah, absolutely.
but
Sure would be
then
nowhere near this.
Spurs are missing like they're arguably the three best midfielders, and we still lost to them.
Yeah,
So we
yeah,
can't complain about injuries, given
yeah. That's the thing.
who they were
And
missing.
then I've been hearing a lot of stuff as well about Ugarte not starting. Um, that one initially, when I looked at it, it was a bit of a surprise. But then again, I thought, you know what, big game Cass, he's built for these finals. Um, and I thought,
Yes,
all right, we've at least got the option to bring him on, and also because Ugarte is a bit fiery as well, and also with him, we know his limitations. So I figured it was because we wanted a bit more mobility in midfield that he didn't start.
yeah, but unfortunately, this turned out to be a Premier League game rather than a
Yeah.
European game,
Yes. Yes.
and Casemiro wasn't able to,
No.
know, do anything in midfield. He
Hmm.
wasn't able to dominate the way he was against Bilbao and
Yeah.
Leon. He looked off the pitch. I remember, I think it was in the first half where he jumped into a challenge on the halfway line and he missed the ball
Hmm.
on the man again. How many times have we seen that? He's just,
Definitely. I think that's where we went wrong because Amorim definitely, went into this as if it was a
he's,
European tie. But you're right, it was more of a Premier League game.
yeah.
And
I
that's where
think
he got caught out, and he definitely got it wrong in it. Like, there's no two ways about it. But you put your hands up, you got it wrong. But what can we do? But
the
try and
word
move on.
the word I was looking for was he wasn't able to assert himself in the
Yeah.
game the way he would against a European
Yep.
opponent.
Against the European side.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we used to see this with Seba back in the days. Any European tie, he would be absolutely amazing. In the league, it was hit and miss. Just the time, space he would have, it was just totally different.
Yeah. Yeah, and yeah, we saw exactly the same in the
Hmm.
previous knockout rounds from Casemiro.
Yeah.
It was like he was like rejuvenated, a totally different player in the Europa League.
Yeah.
But we're going to have nothing but domestic football next season, so
Hmm.
and he's going to be a year older as well, so there's going to
Yeah. Yeah.
be no need for him next season, and if we don't manage to
Absolutely not.
shift him, he's just going to be sitting there. But
Yeah.
yes, you mentioned something else, which was Bruno's position, playing
Hmm.
deep, and another option for the manager would have been to bring him further forward, which
Yes.
he didn't do.
No.
And Bruno had a very, very poor game. And it was
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
mentioned before the match that he only created one chance in the entire 120 minutes against Villarreal in the 2021 final. And again, he had no influence in this game whatsoever.
Mhm.
In fact, I was getting frustrated with him because he was spending a lot of time remonstrating with the officials. He was
Yeah.
going down easily when when someone's
Hmm.
palm of, palm of someone's hand touches him on the cheek, he's going down, holding his face,
Hmm.
and he just seemed more focused on the dark arts and reminiscing of the officials rather than
Yeah.
focusing on his football.
Yeah,
And
unfortunately, we saw, the qualities that we don't like to see from Bruno in this game. Unfortunately for us, it happened in the final, well, we needed the other side of him, but we know what he's about. We know that he's got this side to him. Um, for me, it just comes back to that headed chance. That what an opportunity that was.
it was, but as soon as he made contact with the ball, I knew
Mhm.
it was not going in. It was
Yeah,
miles off.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. He probably had a bit more time than he thought as well.
yeah, he was in acres of space. He could have actually
Yeah,
taken the
yeah.
touch,
He
or
could have
he,
taken a touch. Yeah, probably shouldn't have gone for the head there.
yeah, wouldn't it would have been sensational if Casemiro
Hmm.
would have scored that overhead right at the death.
Yeah. Oh, right at the death. Yeah, yeah,
Do you
yeah.
know
It would have
what?
been
Him and
absolutely clean.
Garnacho got in each other's way. They were both going for the
Yeah,
acrobatic.
yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I'll
I th
tell you what. One of the few positives I can take. Lenny Euro looks a real player.
yeah, without a doubt, I thought he was United's best player on the night.
Yeah,
And there
yeah.
wasn't many candidates, mind you, but he
No,
definitely
no.
was
But
the one who
he's
stood out.
yeah. That's one of those. It's a building block and someone that we have to build around because otherwise, in a few years' time, we're going to lose him if this continues.
Yeah, like many others, he was
Yeah.
devastated at the final whistle.
Hmm.
He didn't happen to see Luke Shaw's interviews. Have you ever seen a more broken man than that?
Yeah,
I
yeah,
know
yeah.
usually his interviews aren't riveting at the
No.
best of times,
But
but
you know
oh
what? His interview, it was an admission, wasn't it, that he doesn't belong there.
yeah, um,
It was one of those. It was quite a sobering moment. I think he realizes as well, like when he was questioning, I think he was really speaking about himself,
uh, uh, can you let the listeners know what quote you're referencing there?
It was basically the quote where he said that he questioned whether he said that, some players need to look at themselves and question if they're Man United standards. And honestly, I think he was talking about himself.
Mhm. She certainly got a lot of brutal honesty after the game.
Yeah,
Diogo Dallo also said something very, very
yeah.
interesting as well. Did you see that interview?
No, I haven't seen the Dallo one. What did Dallo say?
Yeah, Diogo Dallo admitted that the Manchester United players aren't demanding enough of each other as he
Mm,
pins the blame for the club's worst season in 51 years on the dressing room. So if they're not demanding enough of each other, what the hell is going on in that dressing room?
yeah.
You know, well, yeah, that's a pretty big, you know, thing to reveal. The players are not, putting enough pressure on each other to deliver. Is it? What do they think? It's some kind of holiday camp? You know, you,
Yeah, yeah,
you do.
that's the thing, isn't it? There's a lot of work to be done now. A lot of work to be done.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie to you, Carl. I do have concerns with the manager as well. His sort of lack of ability to adapt to certain things. I've always given him leeway because I figured maybe I can judge him more on that once he gets his set of players and that. But in like a one-off cup final game,
Hmm.
philosophy goes out the window. You got to do what's necessary to win. You got to,
Hmm.
be flexible. And I didn't see any of that.
Yeah, that's one thing I wanted to come on to.
Yeah.
United were 1-0 down.
Hmm.
They were chasing the game. He didn't
Yeah.
make a sub until 70 minutes.
Yeah.
That's totally bizarre to me. What was he
Hmm.
thinking? It was
He was
clear.
he was asked about that at the end actually, and he said his because that's what we were all wondering, right? Why wasn't there any changes? And then he said that we started the second half well, so he wanted to see how it goes. And he said he's not there to make changes for the sake of making changes. So he wanted to see how it played out. Basically, is what his reasoning was.
Whilst that is true to an extent, it petered out very quickly as well.
Hmm.
We At the very beginning of the second half, yes, we were upping the tempo and putting more pressure on
Yeah,
Spurs, but that kind of curtailed a bit once we got past
yeah.
the hour mark.
So I
Uh,
think that's what he was referring to. So I think he saw that and he thought, all right, let's just keep it the same, I guess.
I still think you
Um,
waited too long. I mean,
hmm.
even on
Hmm.
60 minutes, that would have been okay, but
I
70
mean, look at
minutes,
when look at when bloody Cobby came on. What's
you
the
know,
point?
that's an insult.
Yeah, it's bad.
Um, and I felt like both Garnacho and Xerxes were pretty good when they came on.
Hmm.
See, the two centre backs, Romero and Van der Ven, they enjoy a physical tussle, and we know that Hoyland struggles against physical opponents.
Listen,
Whereas,
Hoyland just struggles
yeah, in general, but
in general.
Xerxes comes a bit deep to receive the ball. He holds it up, and he can pass pretty well, and that gives the defense something different to think about.
Mhm.
And we know that he can dribble past people. He's so strong. Yeah, he's in some ways, Xerxes, he's not the same player as Olivier Giroud, but in some ways, he has a similar aspect to him in the fact that he doesn't score enough goals, but he impacts the game in other ways, the way Giroud does. Now, admittedly, Giroud doesn't dribble past people like
Yeah.
Xerxes does, but they're both forwards that can impact the game without scoring goals.
Hmm.
So we're desperate for a goal scorer and we need that, but I don't want to lose Xerxes. I think he's a very good player.
Yeah. Yeah. No, he's definitely, as the season's gone on, he's proved what he can provide. Um, he offers us a different option as well. So yeah, I wouldn't particularly be in a hurry to get rid of him, but it really depends on the rest of the transfers and what they see going forward. But I wouldn't be in a hurry to get rid of him.
No, because even if you're not starting him,
Yeah.
when you bring him on, he can have an impact. Now
Yeah, and
that,
he offers something different. So,
yeah,
Hoyland really would be the one that's on the chopping block.
yeah, absolutely. And Xerxes did more in 20 minutes than Hoyland did in 70,
Hmm.
without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
Uh, uh, yeah, Xerxes just has something about him. Not enough goals yet, but definitely
Nope.
has something about him. Uh,
Yeah. I'm not sure if we'll ever get the amount of goals we desire from him, but
no,
I think he can contribute.
but the the run that led to his injury against Newcastle, he must have beat about 4 or 5 Newcastle
Hmm.
defenders. I'd love watching that. That's
Yeah.
what you pay the money to watch football for. You want to
Yeah,
watch
definitely. I mean, even against Arsenal in the cup game, I mean, the way he twisted up a few of their defenders, it was
it's
a joy to
Saliba. Yeah.
behold. Yeah, yeah, against Saliba, yeah, it was brilliant.
Yeah, that sort of plays with the admission money. So
Hmm.
I want to see him stay. He'd be one of the people that I would keep. But
Mm.
Hoyland definitely needs to be moved on. He needs a move to
Yeah,
Serie A where he's
yeah, yeah. Just a different league in general, because yeah, I mean, we spoke about it before the preview anyway, before the game. Just completely devoid of any kind of confidence. I do think he's better than what we've been seeing of late, but yeah, he needs to move. Um, Permanently or on loan. He needs, yeah, something else.
yeah. He is struggling so badly.
Hmm.
So somebody made like a TikTok video and saying, and the caption was Hoyland every time he receives the ball, and it's him trying to hold off the defender like this, just for about 20 minutes
Yeah,
going like this
I,
here.
I think I saw that.
Yeah,
I think I saw that video. Yeah, every
yeah,
time I see Hoyland, this is what he's doing. Just yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
He focuses more on his opponent than the ball itself.
yeah.
Yeah, and he never wins these tussles either, so it's just
Nope,
pointless.
it is.
He's forgot what he's good at.
He's
You know, he,
forgotten the basics. Yeah,
yeah.
when everything else fails, just concentrate on the basics. But he's like, yeah, he doesn't do that well
Do you
either.
know the goal he scored against Galatasaray at Old Trafford,
Hmm.
where he ran from the halfway line
Yeah,
and chipped it over the keeper? Where is that Hoyland? Where's he gone?
yeah.
You know, uh, yeah, the Hoyland that scored the header in that game from Rashford's cross. We don't see that often enough. He has got a few poachers goals of late, 2 or 3,
Yeah.
but when he doesn't score, he's having no impact on the game at all.
At all, like
Yeah.
none.
Mm.
It's almost like we're playing with 10 men when he's not. You know.
Yeah, it's something that urgently needs addressed. It's, like we talk about Xerxes. If he's not starting, he can come on and have an impact as he did in the final. But next season, even if we buy a top drawer striker, I wouldn't even have Hoyland as backup because he's not.
Yeah.
I don't have any faith that he's going to come on and have an impact from the bench.
Mhm.
So I would be looking to move him on. And the reason why I mentioned Serie A is because he still has a reputation in that league, because
Definitely. Yeah.
that's where he made his name at Atalanta, and he may potentially still have suitors there. I think I wouldn't be surprised if a Serie A team or two come in for Xerxes as well, but I would
Yeah.
definitely be looking not to move him on unless we're made an offer we can't refuse.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I definitely see there being some interest from Italy. Maybe Juventus, because I know they're trying to get rid of Vlahovic, who's got 12 months left on his contract. And they've had Kolo Muani on loan, so we don't know if that's going to be permanent. So they're a club that need a striker. So potentially them.
what about Vlahovic? Would he be of interest to us?
He's on ridiculous wages at the moment, so I don't know. That would be. He's fallen off a bit as well from the potential he showed some years ago. But it's also one of those. I mean, could it get worse than anything we've got now? But yeah, it's the wages that's the concern. He's on I think he's the second highest paid player in Serie A. He's on something like 270 a week or something. I think only Lautaro Martinez earns more than him for Serie A strikers, and he's pretty much a bench option now for them. So concerns, question marks.
Yeah, he got 18 goals last season. He has
Yeah,
15 this season in 40
in all
appearances.
competitions.
A lot of those
Yeah,
might be substitute appearances though as
yeah,
well.
yeah. It's in all comps in it, so it's one of those ones. But yeah, no, we're in a position now where we're forced to think smart. They got to be savvy with the money that they use. If they do get a Liam Delap in, you still need an experienced striker to come in. But maybe it's not a big name striker, maybe it's someone that flies under the radar, who's a bit older, who's in their mid to late 20s, that comes in to provide that experience.
Yeah, it's difficult to see United after losing out on European football. Difficult to
Yeah.
see them signing an Osimhen or a Gyökeres now.
Hmm.
It, I could be wrong, but
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Because obviously it's under Ineos now, so we don't really have previous to go on. But under the old regime, what used to happen was on the years that we missed out on Europe is when we would spend a little bit more. Um, but it's all budgetary wise, isn't it, Carl? Because depending on how they do it, they could have one big name signing coming, and that could well be a Gyökeres. Um, but yeah, we just have to wait and see what happens. I think a lot of it depends on departures as well. The Jadon Sancho one, for example, I'd be very surprised if Chelsea made that move permanent. I'm fully expecting them to just pay us 5 million and send him back. And that then is a headache as well, because where do you ship him off to next?
I know. Whenever I read the headline, United prioritizing the sales of Anthony, Rashford,
Mm.
and Sancho, I was thinking, but have they not already sold Sancho? So as soon as I read that, I was thinking, yeah, they're going to send him back, aren't they?
Yeah,
That
yeah, they're gonna send him back. Yeah, yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense. Seeing what we've seen of him over there, it doesn't make sense for them to sign him for 25. Just pay the 5 million to send him back. Obviously, the Rashford one's up in the air as well. Aston Villa still looking to qualify for Champions League, and we play him at the weekend. So depending on how that goes, that might impact if Rashi moves there on a permanent or not. The Anthony one, I mean, they love him over there in Betis, but I don't think
they
Betis can
don't
afford
have the
him.
money. They don't have the money.
They can't afford him. So really, we're hoping that somebody else comes in, maybe an Atletico Madrid, who are one of the big dogs in that league, who have got the finances,
I
because he's
hope
made a
so.
big impression over in La Liga. So I think his stock has risen.
Yeah, and I'm thankful for that because I thought
Yeah, yeah,
we weren't we might even get half our money back now.
yeah, yeah.
In best case
And
scenario.
on top of all of that, though, Kyle, well, the other thing we got to look at as well. I mean, Ineos have previous with Nice where they've sacked managers. Um, so in the back of my mind, I'm a little bit concerned because you get all these calls over the last couple of days. People have been like, "Oh yeah, move on from the manager." For me, it would be a mistake if we were to, but if they were to do that, we're a complete and utter mess, aren't we? Because then what do? You're back to the drawing board. Does that mean that Rashfords and the Anthony's come back? You know, do we just tear up this whole new system that they're trying and go back to a flat back four? Like, there's so much in the air at the moment.
Well, so the noise coming out from the Manchester Evening News
Mm.
and Sky Sports News, is that they are not going to sack Amorim, that his job is safe. So, and
And I
sorry,
hope not.
sorry, Fabrizio Romano as well. He
Oh,
also said
yeah,
that.
said that
So,
they're not going to sack him. All right.
yeah,
So yeah,
I thought Fabrizio was worth a mention because he is like the
yeah,
ultimate when it comes
yeah,
to
yeah,
news.
yeah. Tapping merchant as well, isn't he? So he doesn't like
Yeah,
to get things wrong.
yeah. Uh, so United have no plans to sack Amorim and fully intend
Well,
on backing him in the
yeah,
summer.
well, yeah, that in the back of my mind over the last 2 days, that's been a concern for me. Because I just don't know if I can trust what they're saying when they say they're going to back him. I hope they do. If not, then we're in real trouble. Because then all of this would have been for no reason. Um, this whole season that's been written off would have been for nothing if they sack him and they go back to something else.
Yeah, because in my opinion, he should have been coming in as manager now, and Van Nistelrooy should have
He
been the
was to
manager.
come in now, yeah, and Van Nistelrooy should have held it down until now. And then you would like to think we would have been in a slightly better league position than we are now because it's just all gone to shit.
Yeah, we wouldn't have been playing the wing backs and all that.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
think
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because honestly, looking at our squad, we're not built for this.
no.
And in January as well, we talked about it. Like Dorgu, like isn't really going to move the needle, is he? Like he's still very young. He's not even a player that's got a solidified position.
Now Dorgy looks like a rabbit caught in the headlights.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just
And then this is what I was telling you the other day when I was annoyed about Liverpool signing to the two they're getting in Frimpong and Kirkez. They're tailor made for our team and this system.
I know, but they're
It's what pisses me off. Because when we look at our wing backs, they're all rotation options, Carl. And in this system of all systems, you need really, really good wing backs to make this work.
yeah. I'm with given that they're going to bring in Diego Leon as well from South
Mm.
America. I don't really see them signing another person in that position.
Yeah, and again, this kid coming from South America, he's what, 17, 18 years old. Yeah, he's built like a brick, but do you know do you know how mad that is to just rely on someone that young coming from
Yeah,
South America as well? It's gonna take him a while. The culture, the language, the weather, the football, the physicality. I
yeah.
mean, the physicality he might have,
Already.
an easier time adapting to because of his size.
Yeah, the adaptation going from
Yeah.
Paraguay to England is going to be
Hmm.
massive.
Yeah, it's
You,
gonna be
you,
huge.
for example, a real someone who's a real top player in the Premier League is the now his name has escaped me now. He was once linked with United for £4 million, and he ended up being sold from Brighton to Chelsea for like
Oh,
120
Casado.
million. Like
Casado.
he didn't come straight from South America to England
Yeah.
and go straight into the
Hmm.
starting 11 of Brighton and just hit the ground running. It took time for him to get to where he is now. Uh,
Definitely.
so we cannot expect someone to come in the summer, start the first
Yeah.
Premier League game in August and hit the ground running. It ain't gonna
Yeah,
happen.
no, you absolutely can't. But I'll tell you what, this has put us in a position now where, our scouting has to be top tier. And we need to pick up these Caicedo type deals where you target these South Americans and players around the globe for under 10 million. And then the thing is, they might not be ready for us right now. You might have to buy them and loan them out. But you can do that though. We're in a position where we can do that. We've got the finances to spend 5, 6 million on a relative unknown and loan them out, but we need to start doing it
Yeah, that's what they're trying
and
to
start
do.
reaping the rewards.
Yeah. Well, we do have that guy at the club. He's the head of recruitment, Christopher Vivel, who
Vivel,
who's
yeah.
worked at Red Bull for a lot of his career, and he's been at
Hmm.
Chelsea, and he's apparently has a lot of contacts in the world of football. So when we sign kind of diamonds in the rough and unknown quantities, you can pretty much guarantee that it's down to him. You know,
Hmm.
now the Delap one, I think that'll be down to Wilcox because Delap came through the City Academy, and that's where Wilcox used to work. He was the director of City's Academy, so you can you can easily pinpoint whose idea that was. But I agree with what you
Mm.
were saying earlier that if Delap comes in, we need a more senior striker as well because he's just not enough. Because you don't want to
Yeah.
end up, in another Hoyland situation
Nah,
where
exactly. We'll just be, yeah, yeah, we'll be throwing him to the wolves as well. Just, you know, throwing him in at the deep end.
It
It
would be
wouldn't make sense.
wonderful if Amorim could use his relationship with Gyökeres to get him in, but there's going to be a lot of competition for him. And
Definitely. And especially, I think what concerns me as well, the age he's at, I don't think he's got time to waste. I think there's a lot of ready-made clubs who are a lot closer to what they're trying to achieve. So if they come in for him as well, I don't know if the relationship with Amorim is enough to convince him to come to us.
yeah, with no European football, and
Yeah, yeah,
he's
and he's what, like
27. I don't
26,
see it.
27. Yeah, and it's going to take us 2 years at least to get back, and that's if everything goes perfectly. So you're looking at 29, 30 by the time he can really like start looking at, top tier Champions League football. Like, why would he take that? If someone like an Arsenal, who are what second, 3 years running, come in for him, surely you choose them.
Yeah, and it's difficult to see Osimhen coming in as well now, given
Yeah.
that we're offering him. He's a similar age, and we're offering no European football, and he's getting
hmm
very high wages apparently.
Yeah,
So
yeah. The wage demands were apparently a thing. So yeah, and especially now, if we were in Europe, it'll be a different thing, but now definitely
uh,
not.
and
Um,
Benjamin Sesko is another one I don't see coming to
yeah,
United either, given their our current situation. And
yeah. I mean, he would have been another project though, wouldn't he? So it's one of those ones.
that 100 million is 100 million out of the budget as well, you
Yeah,
know, that we lost out
yeah.
on.
hmm
So, like, people were saying that if we get the Champions League money, it'll give us money to buy a senior striker. So now we don't have that.
Yeah, and
Um,
now we're seeing all these quotes and links of Bruno to Saudi, Al Hilal apparently, and we're hearing, they could be potentially interested. It could be 100+ million.
that's another interesting quote.
Yeah,
Bruno Fernandes did say after the game that
mm,
if United need to cash in on him to raise funds, then he'll be more than willing to go.
yeah,
That's a
yeah,
pretty sensational quote to come
hmm
out with following a
hmm
loss in the final. Of course, the players really were on fire after the game, weren't they? They weren't afraid to speak their
yeah,
minds. But yeah, it's quite interesting though that so he's happy to stay in Manchester if United want to
hmm
keep him, but he's also happy to go to Saudi if United get a British record fee. Those are
yeah,
two very different things. Yet he's
hmm
happy with either of them because, like, in terms of the culture and the climate and everything else, it couldn't be
yeah,
any different.
yeah, yeah. It's quite polar opposite, isn't it? I do think a player of his talent deserves to go somewhere to win stuff, but then Saudi, I don't know. If you're going to Saudi, then it's money based in it mainly. But yeah, I mean the predicament the club find themselves in. If we get a really big offer, we can't really turn it down.
Yeah, if now that we know we're not we
Yeah,
haven't got the Champions League money,
and he's and he
if we
and he's 30,
if
and he's 30 years old. His
if we
value's only going to go down
we could
from
be
here.
offered stupid money here, like
Yeah.
120 million pounds.
hmm
If we were offered 120 million pounds, I think we
Yeah.
have to take it.
You'd have to take it. You'd have to. Um, but
But
I mean, yeah. Sorry, go on.
that would be an enormous hole in terms of our creativity in midfield, though.
Absolutely, absolutely. But then you have to get creative as well with this rebuild, and that's exactly what we're in now. And now there's, nothing papering over the cracks. You have to fully go in on the rebuild. And you've got this
And
manager in that you need to back. But then this is the other problem as well, though, going forward, signing players. Do you sign players just for him, or is it with some sort of future long-term vision? Because obviously managers come and go, but the players end up staying. So whoever you
mm,
sign, it has to be with a little bit of versatility that they can play under different systems, different styles, under different managers.
yeah,
Or if you do move on from this manager, do you get another one that plays five at the back? There needs to be some kind of continuity from now on
I
going forwards.
I was listening to Samuel Luckhurst on the Manchester's Red podcast from Bilbao
hmm
after the game, and he was saying he's absolutely 99.9% certain United are not, if they sack Amorim at any point in the near future,
mm
they are not going to bring in Inzaghi and play three at the back
Yeah,
again. He says
yeah.
if Amorim is sacked, they will
hmm
go to a manager who plays four at the back again. So
Jesus.
he's 99% certain that that would be the
Yeah,
case.
yeah.
So imagine we sign wing backs this summer and then sack
hmm
Amorim in
hmm
December. Imagine that.
Yeah, yeah. Imagine, imagine. And then you have to, if you have, there can't be half measures. We keep saying that's such an important position in this system.
Yeah,
The best example I can give is maybe PSG, where they've got two of the top wing backs in the world in Hakimi and Nuno Mendes, especially whilst going forward. But
Yeah.
Luis Enrique is such a good coach that he's managed to fit them in even when he switched it up to a back four so they
Yeah.
can operate effectively.
Yeah, Nuno Mendes was actually linked with us in January.
Yeah,
How could
because
that
of the
even be
Portuguese. Yeah,
possible? He's playing for a
yeah.
team that's reached the Champions League final. How is he going to come to United in January?
Yeah, exactly,
What are these
exactly.
journalists
Yeah,
smoking?
yeah. It
Mhm.
was just they were just putting two and two together and getting 65. Obviously the fact that he's Portuguese and he came from Sporting, you know.
Yeah, I mean that is a link that he has worked under Amorim previously in his career.
Yeah,
But yeah, he's playing for one of the best teams in Europe now. He's not going to
yeah,
come and play for
exactly.
a team that finishes 16th
Yeah,
or 17th in the Premier League.
yeah. But then yeah, it's not all doom and gloom because I will say I'll tell you what I was looking at yesterday in my depression because to try and make sense of it, we do this in it and what I was looking at Nottingham Forest last season Nottingham Forest finished 17th in the league 32 points. This season they're on 65 points with one game to go in seventh place. So they didn't have any Europe. They just got down to business and did what they needed to do. So the possibility to climb up the table without the distraction of Europe and all the rest of it is there. We just need to have a very good window, um, and back the manager.
Whilst that's true, yeah, it's everything is harder at Man United for some reason. I don't know why. It's the pressure, um, the attention that the club gets, and the culture that's currently at the club, which has been questioned many times. It just seems to be that what other clubs can do, United either can't do it or they find it more difficult. Um, and even getting a window right is something that you can't guarantee at Man United. And
Mm.
you said that we can jump 10 places in the league if
I
we
mean, even
recruit.
that it's a tall order. I'm just giving you an example that we've seen in real time in recent times of a club
Yeah,
doing it. It doesn't mean that we're going to, but if Forest can, like, what have they got that we haven't? Like resources wise, you know.
yeah, but it seems to be having more resources is more of a hindrance than a help. United, so
Mhm.
the money that we waste and just burn through, as Richard Arnold
Again,
would say.
that's if that's the thing, then missing out on the Champions League money surely forces us into making more smart decisions and being a bit more savvy with the money. And there's bargains to be had out there. I think we need to stop going for big names. There's deals to be had. It might be the underwhelming name, but it might
Well,
be players that just fit and suit what we're trying to do, and that's what we need to start looking at.
well, it's Christopher Vival that gives me hope
Yeah.
because
Hmm.
at the Red Bull group, he's used to finding, unknown quantities, diamonds in the
Yeah.
rough, and
Yeah.
bringing them to Red Bull for peanuts, and then
Hmm.
they're being sold on for big money to other
Yeah.
clubs. If he's able to find those kinds of players for us,
Hmm.
then that gives me hope, and that's what we'll need this summer. You know,
Definitely.
we will need to buy ready-made
Yeah.
25-year-olds, and we're obviously going to do that
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
with Kuna. But we also need, as you say, we need to find these unknown 18-year-olds that
Yeah. It has to be. It has to be a mixture. And the unknowns don't necessarily have to be 18. Like I'll tell you
yeah,
what, Milinkovic, they picked him up, Nottingham Forest from Fiorentina for about 12 million last summer. Um,
yeah,
he's previously linked to us years ago, back when Jose was here, when he was an
yeah.
up and coming talent. But back then the quotation was way, beyond anyone's comprehension. But yeah,
And,
they picked him up for 12 million last summer. That's a savvy bit of business, that.
and look at the centre back that Bournemouth have now sold to Real Madrid.
Hmm.
S s when
Dean
Bourne
Huyson, I wanted him.
when Bournemouth picked him up,
Yeah,
some scout was doing his job well.
very much so, very much so. Jose had him at Roma briefly last year on loan, but then he got sacked. Yeah, yeah, unbelievable. For me, that would have been a no-brainer signing for me. But obviously, the kid's gone to Real Madrid, and it. What can you tell him? Um, I just thought that would have been a signing that with him and Euro, you've pretty much just solidified the defense for the next decade.
Do you know what's funny is that Real Madrid got this deal done before the end of the season.
Yeah,
Was it because United signed Yarrow last summer when they were interested that they decided
Probably they didn't want to mess about,
we
and
can't
they knew
risk
there was
this.
interest.
We can't
Yeah,
risk
yeah,
this. Let's
because
get it done now.
yeah, you can't risk it, can you? Yeah, because obviously the 50 million euro release clause was there. We knew that Arsenal were interested, Chelsea were interested, Bayern Munich as well, but Bayern apparently had to sell first before they could buy.
Mhm.
So they're now
And
looking at Jonathan Tah, who's a free agent. But yeah,
Jonathan Tah
it
has been
makes a
linked
lot of
with us.
sense.
Jonathan Tah has been linked with United
Mm,
too.
yeah, yeah, he's
Uh,
in talks with Bayern though. He's in
but
talks with
yeah,
Bayern.
if you got
Yeah,
the offer of Champions League football at Bayern, I think that's
yeah,
where you'll go. Like, um,
definitely. But
but
yeah, Hoyson, I'm expecting big
y-
things from him in the future. Fantastic,
well, it
fantastic.
won't. It'll be at Los Blancos. Be far away from the
Yeah,
Premier League. We'll probably see him in a few Champions League finals, no doubt.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, yeah. And if he does end up at United, it would be because things went pear shaped over there.
or like Varane, he'll come when he's 28 and injury prone.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
Uh, so you're very annoyed that Liverpool are signing Frimpong and Kirkes, but just to rub
Yeah.
salt into the wounds, they're now going to sign Florian Wirtz as well from Bayer
Jesus. What?
Leverkusen.
Where are we hearing this? Please, please not Fabrizio.
He,
Ah.
he, David Ornstein.
Okay. All right. That's still
So
pretty damn
he's
good.
it's he said he didn't say that in as many
Yeah.
words, but what he said is
Yeah.
that Bayern Munich are now convinced that he's going to
Mm.
Anfield, so they're withdrawing from the
Mm.
process.
Yeah. I think around 87 million is what they wanted. And Bayern, they have to sell and stuff as well. And we know Liverpool are cash rich because obviously, they still sat on the Zubimendi money from last year when he said no. So, wow. Wow. That would be a huge signing for them. Huge.
Yeah, funny enough, I was just talking to a Liverpool fan the other day,
Mm.
and he was very confident that they were going to sign Florian Wirtz. So
Wow. Yeah. Makes me feel sick that. I can't lie to you.
yeah, they didn't buy anyone last summer, so they've got lots of
Yeah.
money to
Yeah.
spend this summer, and they're
And this
using
is
it.
the other thing as well. This is why it's so important not to panic in the market. Like when you miss out on certain targets, like you don't just go out and get players for the sake of appeasing fans. You take your time and you plan
Yeah,
and you
I
strike
mean,
at the right times.
they they got Chiesa on loan, who barely played.
Yeah,
I was the only signing in the whole of the summer
yeah,
window, and they ended up winning the Premier League at a canter.
yeah, yeah. And that was a gamble that obviously didn't pay off, but hindsight's a wonderful thing. But he was quite cheap anyway. I think they spent like 10, 12 million on him. He'll probably end up back in Italy, to be fair. But they have got one or two they need to get rid of as well. Probably Nunes will move on. The attack apart from Mo Salah is not that great. Diogo Jota might be moved on. So when they move one or two of these players on, the net spend as well
Mhm.
looks quite nice.
Yeah, because what Michael Edwards is good at
Yeah,
is getting big returns whenever they
yeah,
sell someone. Like, didn't they
exactly.
sign Dominic? They sold Solanke to Bournemouth
Yeah,
for a massive fee.
yeah. I think
There's
it
a
was
few,
like 25 million or something. They got like 16 million for Jordan Ibe.
yeah,
Rian Brewster went for a lot of money. Van der Berg was it one of their centre halves? Nico Williams. They get good returns on the players. They're fringe players. They get good
yeah.
returns on them.
They probably end up selling Curtis Jones for like 40 million at some point as well.
Yes. Harvey Elliott's another one. If he moves on,
Yeah,
they'll probably make bank on him. So yeah, this is how you run a football club. It saddens me to say because it's them lot, but
yeah. You have to say that they are odds-on favorites to get to 21 titles before us, to say the
mm,
least.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
what
yeah. Listen, we're so far away from a title. Jesus. Um,
we're going
just
to
looking
be.
at the table, it's just mad depressing. Just so depressing.
But yeah, like you say, with Forest, it can change very quickly.
Yeah, yeah.
Remember actually Leicester were nearly relegated and then they
Hmm.
won the league the following season.
Yeah, yeah.
So it can be
Yeah,
done.
so listen, I mean, it's a proper rebuild. Like, no Europe, it means, less games than that. So there's no excuse really. So now you have to really just hone in on the summer. Um, is this the right man for the job? I don't know. I'm undecided. But at the moment, I think it would be ridiculous to sack him. Especially
Yeah.
now that you're out of Europe as well. It makes
Yeah.
little sense to me when you've got no money to then sack yet another manager and then be, paying him and his staff and then to get somebody else in. So at a time when you're tight on budget, It makes no sense to me.
I think that's one of the reasons why they won't sack him is because
Yeah,
to get rid of him and his coaches, it'll cost another 20 million.
it will cost
So
another. Yeah, and you can't do it. You can't do it right now. And also next year it's a World Cup year. We know that, and there's usually a bit of a managerial merry-go-round after a World Cup, and then after that they might have to reassess the situation. Like come next summer after the World Cup, people like Nagelsmann might be up for grabs, and then there might be questions that need to be asked. But until this time next year, we won't really know. I
yeah,
don't think this is the time to replace anyone.
this time next year there has to be a significant improvement
Yeah.
in United's league position.
But I'd be
And
lying if I said I didn't have concerns, Carl. I think my main concern is that, you know, I've given him some leeway because he hasn't got his players, but the failure to adapt to certain situations. And again, I've put it this season down to the fact that maybe you don't have the tools because I've looked on the bench sometimes and I was like, well, how many of these do I think could come on and make an actual difference? So I've given him a bit of leeway. But once he gets his window, once he gets his players in, if he's still this stubborn, I don't know. It's make or break, in it really. He could be the architect of his own downfall.
yeah, I know it's still very early, and you have to give a manager uh, a summer transfer window followed by a full season before you can properly judge him. But
Yep.
I share your concerns in that he's so wedded to this
Hmm.
3-4-2-1 formation that even when he makes a substitution, even when he makes five substitutions, it's still the same formation.
It's still the same. Yeah, yeah. It's within the parameters of that, which to a certain degree I respect it. But at the same time, listen, if it's not working, be a bit brave. Just take a chance, you know?
Yeah. What's wrong with going with two up top whenever you're chasing the game?
What's wrong with just adapting to your opposition from time to time?
Yeah, I know.
So this is one thing that I've noticed because I know in this day and age, there's a lot of tacticians out there, but I've seen it. I've seen Xabi Alonso plays a similar way, but I've seen him in Europe this season with Leverkusen, where he's gone 4-2-3-1.
Yeah, and
But I
yeah,
can't see this manager doing that though.
and I know he brought Dallo on just to get crosses into the middle,
Yeah.
but United were chasing the game in a final, and still we
Hmm.
finished the match with five defenders on the pitch.
Yeah.
You know, he's
Yeah.
gonna look. I understand managers have a certain formation that they like, but
Hmm.
when you're chasing a game, you have to be prepared to change it. And look at Fergie, what he done from time to time. He did it in '99, and he did it in that
Hmm.
2008 era as well,
Hmm.
where he wouldn't be afraid to put four strikers on the pitch at once and search
Yeah.
for a goal.
And listen, in the last 5 minutes, does it really make a difference if we get caught on
Mm.
the counter and lose 2-0? Like, does it matter? You go all out. You go all out to try and get that equalizer.
Yeah, you just you just have to get as many forwards onto the pitch as possible. Forget about the
Yeah.
formation.
Yeah, basically.
I think even when Fergie was chasing games, there was no
Hmm.
formation anymore. They would just
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
get as many
yeah.
forwards on as
Yeah,
possible.
but I think that's a damning indictment of the times as well, where everything's just so robotic now, just all stats based and that everyone's just afraid to lose the ball. You know, it's just,
Yeah,
yeah, they've
and
trained all
yeah,
the flair out of it.
yeah, and players have to they can only occupy certain zones on the pitch.
Hmm.
They can't go any
Hmm.
further than the middle
Yeah,
zone or something.
yeah,
Or
yeah. I was listening to Rio Ferdinand's podcast a while back when he had Robbie Keane on. Robbie Keane's in management now, and he said he had to tell one of his centre backs to stop passing it at the back, stop passing it around at the back, because what was happening was, um, they were doing it so that their stats look better, like their individual stats, their passing accuracy and everything look better. But he was like, but there was no point to it. There was, if we're
zero.
not going forward, it was utterly pointless.
And United frustrate me at times when they're
Yeah,
behind, it's late in the game, and the
yeah.
centre backs are passing at each other, and you're like, just get it
Yeah.
forward.
Oh, do you know what pisses me off now, Carl? I think it's probably because of how he grew up, yeah. And we saw them really go for it. There's no sense of urgency anymore.
No, it's really
Like even when we're behind, even when the clock's ticking, everyone's just taking their sweet time, and I'm just like, why? What?
yeah. Even late in the game on
Hmm.
Wednesday night, they're out on the in the wide area, they're playing three or four passes to each other.
Yeah,
Get it in, get it into the
get
middle.
it in, get it into the bloody box. I think they're so afraid now of just putting one of those random balls in case they lose possession and get hit on the counter. I think that's the reason they do this build up nonsense. But listen, in a final, man, who cares? Just go for it.
Yeah, I just hope that Amorim is going to learn some lessons from this and be willing
Yeah.
to be more pragmatic in a
Hmm.
final. Should we be lucky enough to get to one under him
Yeah.
again? I don't want to see the same mistakes being repeated. See, like for instance, next season, if we make it to the FA Cup final or
Yeah.
League Cup final, I don't want to see us lose this way again with the
Yeah.
man.
Yeah. That's the thing. That's the thing. But yeah, so much impetus now on this summer window. And then you know me, I'm quite realistic anyway in my expectations. Even when I thought we would win and everything, I always said next season my aim was simply top 10. Even that, they're gonna have to put in work to get that.
Yeah, I do like. Let's say we finish 16th,
Yeah.
at
Oh,
worst
jeez.
17th, right?
Mm,
Austin Villa, you mentioned the Villa game. There's no doubt
yeah.
in my mind that Villa will win that
Yeah.
game.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Because they need the points, and we'll be on the floor. Our team, and
Yeah.
they lose every league game anyway.
Hmm.
So if we jumped from 16th to 14th, then Amram would be sacked. That's not good enough.
Yeah.
If we went from 16th to maybe the top ninth or eighth,
Ninth.
then you could
Yeah.
see that as being progress.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely. Definitely. If we can't struggle like this again. We can't
No,
struggle like this again.
we need to be winning the odd game
Yeah.
in the Premier League. That'd be a start.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
yeah.
as you
I
said,
mean, back-to-back wins would be nice.
yeah, didn't achieve that all season. I don't think in the Premier League,
Mhm.
which is
Nope,
shocking.
nope. First
Um,
time, first time we've gone a whole season, no back-to-back wins. Madness.
and no wonder we're not going to break the 40-point barrier, which is
Yeah,
normally the difference between being relegated and not. But luckily this season that's not. In other seasons we would have been relegated with this points
yeah.
total.
I mean, I remember that season with where West Ham got over the line with 40 and still got relegated
Yeah, and yeah,
many years ago.
we're going to stay up with 39.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah,
and as you said, 9 points since the turn of the year.
yeah, yeah. It's disgusting. 5 months, 9 points. It's yeah,
That is relegation form.
yeah. Pretty much the only saving grace for us why relegation might not be a realistic thing, is because the teams that come up into this league, like there's such a disparity in wealth that they won't be able to spend as much.
Hmm.
But even that, I mean, I say that bloody Leeds are owned by Red Bull now, aren't they? So the Red Bull group probably can afford to invest. Um, but yeah, I think the playoff games this weekend. I think Sunderland, Stoke is
It's
it?
Sheffield
Not
United
Stoke.
and Sunderland.
It's Sheffield United, isn't it?
Yeah.
Have they made it? Yeah.
I think Sheffield United are
So
big favourites because they finished third, well ahead
yeah,
of the team
yeah,
in
yeah,
sixth.
yeah, yeah. But these teams, they yo-yo. They can't compete, so they will
Yeah.
always struggle.
Well, the last two seasons, the promoted teams have
Yeah,
went down again.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Because and if you look at the amount of money spent, they probably bit spent the least in the league.
so I'm going to end on a positive.
Mm.
With Leeds being promoted, that's a guaranteed 6 points for United next season.
I bloody well hope so. But if things go like this season, then that's another reason to cry. It'll be a new low, and we'll be here ranting and raving. But yeah, yeah. My only positive is listen, the proof's in the pudding, in it. Like we've already seen the example in recent times of like a Nottingham Forest and what can be achieved. And it kind of sucks that we have to sit here and compare ourselves to Forest, but that's where we find ourselves.
Yeah, the only thing lower than this
Hmm.
is relegation. So surely next season
Yeah,
has to be
sure.
better.
It can't get lower than this. And we have to humble ourselves. We have to stop saying we're Man United and just get down to basics and start doing what's necessary. Do what needs to be done.
Yeah, and fans need to realize that we're not going to be shopping at Harrods this summer. We're going to be shopping in Tesco for
Yep,
players.
yep.
So we need to get realistic about it.
Hmm.
The
And
bit
before we get out of here as well, Carl, I want to say it's now half time in the Napoli and Inter games. Both teams winning 1-0. And you know who gave Napoli the lead?
McTominay.
Scott McTominay. They are 45 minutes away from winning a league title, and Scotty could be the one to take them there.
Scotty is going to be like Maradona out in Naples.
They
You
oh,
know?
they already love him. They already
Yeah,
love him. There
yeah.
was a random interview I saw where there was a local like pizza place, and they named a pizza after him and Billy Gilmore.
Yeah, uh, that is the home of pizza, of course.
Yeah,
So, uh, did they call it the Scotsman pizza or something? And
yeah, it was Scottish themed. Yeah, yeah, with
yeah,
him and Billy. Yeah,
looks like they're going to win the league, and fair play to
hopefully.
him. Fair play to him.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
fair play, fair play.
it's, yeah. So Lukaku and McTominay are going to win the league at the expense of Darmian and Mkhitaryan.
Yeah,
I have to say,
it looks like.
out of all those, McTominay would probably be my favorite acting player out
Mhm.
of all of them. And still a lot of people at United and United ex-players who just cannot believe we let him go, given the goals that he
Yeah,
provides.
I mean, yeah, it's one of those though, isn't it? Like, the grass is greener on the other side kind of situation. There would have been a time where we had to let him go anyway, because he never would have held down a first team slot for us, and he was like what 28. He deserved to go somewhere and flourish, and I'm happy for him.
Yeah, I just my complaint with him was whenever he didn't
Yeah,
score,
yeah,
then
yeah.
he didn't contribute anything else.
Yeah, and that's the other problem. Like, we can't just rely on him for goals. You know, he's a midfielder at the end of the day,
Yeah, I just don't
and
think he has the
yeah,
creativity and the guile that we required.
yeah. Yeah. And obviously in that league is different, and he's having a whale of a time. So yeah.
Yeah,
Uh
it is a drop off in quality from the Premier League, and this is why
mhm.
you see on La Liga as well. I know the teams at the top of these leagues
Yeah.
are, some of the best teams in Europe, but the Premier League has more depth than the rest of these leagues.
It's
Hence,
just
United and
the
Spurs are in the Europa League
competition is
final.
just insane because of the amount of money in the league.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, look at
yeah,
United and Spurs got to the Europa League final, and they're dire. They're just above the
exactly.
relegation zone, yet they were putting
And
out teams in the
listen,
top
and
four in the other
there's
leagues.
and the race for Champions League is crazy as well, because there's currently three teams in our league that are tied on 66 points.
Yeah,
Like, that's
yeah.
insane. You wouldn't get that in other leagues.
And there's going to be a Champions League playoff between Forest and Chelsea live on Sunday.
Yeah, Newcastle, Chelsea, Villa all on 66, and Nottingham Forest on 65. And I believe Forest take on Chelsea as well. So that's a big tie at the weekend.
Yeah, that's what I was saying there. It's
Yeah.
a Champions League playoff basically,
Yeah, 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 basically. Basically.
and Villa have a guaranteed 3 points, as we all know. So
Yeah.
eh,
Yeah.
they're certainly in with the shout. Uh, s- isn't it isn't it just embarrassing that nine Premier League teams are going to be in Europe next season, and Man United are
And
not
we're
one of them?
not and we're not one of them. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's insane. Record numbers, and we're not there.
we're not even close to not
Not
even
even
close.
close. Nope.
Yeah,
It's insane. But hey ho, hopefully we'll have one or two more positive streams to do over the course of the summer, as the window gets underway.
yeah. As
And
players
then
leave and come in, we will be doing podcasts throughout the summer, guys.
yeah,
So tune in for
and
those.
hopefully that'll give us some hope as well, and it will lift our spirits.
It always does. You know,
Yeah.
the further we get away from the Europa League final,
Hmm.
the better our
The
mood will
better.
be. And as
Yeah, yeah,
the signings roll in, our
yeah.
mood will improve
About
even
the
further.
only silver lining in all of this is that Arsenal still haven't got a European trophy,
Mhm.
and now they have to hear from Tottenham fans.
Yeah, it is quite funny that if
That is funny.
you know, this is why finishing second means absolutely bugger all because
Yeah, yeah.
you're just the first loser. Uh, you know,
Basically.
you now have a situation where Arsenal have finished second 3 seasons in a row, probably.
Hmm. Yep.
Spurs have
It's
finished
their third
seventh.
season in a row. Yeah.
Spurs are going to finish 17th and win a European trophy.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
who would you rather be? Probably
Yeah, yeah,
Spurs.
and it's their third one. It's their third UEFA Cup slash Europa
Yeah,
League,
they won the
and
first one, I
Arsenal have
think.
none.
They won the first one,
Yep,
Spurs against Wolves.
they won the first inaugural one in 71, 72, and they picked
Yeah.
up their second in 84, and this is their third.
Mm.
And Arsenal have zilch. Ha.
Yeah, I remember when I was a kid, Arsenal lost to Galatasaray in the UEFA Cup
Yep,
final.
yep. 1-0 in 2000.
And yeah,
Yep,
was it
I remember that one.
Suker, did he score for? No, I
I
don't know.
can't remember who the scorer
Mm,
was. It might have been
mm,
Hakan Shuke. Yeah,
yeah,
I just remember they had a gilt edged chance that fell to Martin Keown, and he missed the ball.
he is not the man you want in that situation.
Nope. Yeah, yeah. Cross came in, and yeah, had he made any kind of good contact with it, it would have been 1-1. But hey ho.
And of course, they lost the Champions League final to Barcelona in
Oh, they got
2006.
utterly battered. Yeah, and then they got battered in the Europa League against Chelsea. I think it was.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, they did.
yeah,
2019, I think that was.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Yeah, 4-1.
yeah, no, it was only they only lost 2-1 to Barcelona in 2006 in the final. They were
Yeah,
down. They were did a man sent off.
Lehman got sent off. Yeah, the keeper
Yeah,
got sent off, and it kind of changed the
he
game.
brought. Yeah, he brought Julie down and he
Yeah,
was sent off. I think they'd rather just give Barcelona the goal arsenal and let Lehmann stay on. But
yeah, yeah,
the
yeah. I mean, yeah, from the actual gameplay perspective, it kind of ruined the game, didn't it? But I wasn't
yeah,
complaining. I was
so,
there
and
on
then
hate watch.
yeah, and so Campbell actually gave them the lead after going down to
Yeah,
10 men, and then
yeah.
Henrik Larsson changed the game with the two
Hmm.
assists to win it for Barcelona. And then, of course, the following season, Larsson would end up at Old Trafford alongside Rooney and Ronaldo.
Yep.
There we go. There's a history lesson for you guys, for anyone who didn't
There
know
we
all that.
go.
So,
Henrik Larsson, what a player.
yeah, if only he came to United in his 20s, that would have been
Yeah,
marvellous. But
definitely.
he had the admirer's loyalty to Celtic. He
Hmm.
like, 'cause he could have played for anyone in the world, and he played for Celtic for so long.
Yeah, yeah, just ridiculously prolific as well over there. And for the people listening who didn't watch the Scottish League back then, it was at a much higher standard than it is now. So it wasn't a complete walkover. There was a lot of money in Scotland back then.
Yeah, the some of the players at Rangers had were
Yeah,
like European Cup winners at Ajax and AC
yeah, yeah,
Milan and all. Like the
yeah,
Laudrups, the De Boers,
yeah,
uh,
yeah. They're close. The Stefan Klos,
close.
their keeper was from
Yeah,
Dortmund. He won the Champions League with
Torre
them.
Andrew Flo used to play for Chelsea. He was at Rangers
Yeah, yeah,
as well.
yeah, yeah. Scored a lot
Uh,
of goals, that guy.
you
Yeah,
know
they
they
had the De Boer brothers.
yeah, that's what yeah, I just said that. And
Yeah, yeah,
one of the Laudrups, Brian Laudrup, I think as well.
yeah, yeah. Brian Laudrup was there. Van Bronckhorst, who went on to
And
play for
Broncos,
Arsenal.
yeah, and Barcelona as well. Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
did actually Mikel Arteta played for Rangers as well?
Yes, he
Yeah.
did.
And do you remember the striker David Perso, who
Yes, from Monaco.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
got to the
Dado Perzo. Yeah, he
he
was
got to
there.
the Champions League final with Monaco in
Champions League
2004,
final in
but
'04.
he was
Yeah.
at Rangers as well.
Mm,
Uh, that Paul Gascoigne played for Rangers too. Um,
yeah.
him, yeah, and of course Celtic have had so many brilliant players like Larson.
Ali McCoist.
Well, Rangers obviously McCoist, yeah,
Yeah.
but Celtic, Chris Sutton, John Hartson,
Oh no,
uh,
sorry, I was talking about Rangers still. Yeah, Celtic. Yeah, Mark Viduka was there.
yeah,
Chris Sutton, Neil
um,
Lennon.
yeah, Stilian Petrov.
Yeah, oh,
Uh,
Stilian Petrov. Oh, what a left foot that guy had.
in fact, Virgil van Dijk was a Celtic player as well, that people might forget. Um,
Oh, yes, he was. Oh, actually, no, I think I might be thinking of Martin Petrov with the left foot. But yeah, Stilian. Yeah, he went on to
yeah,
play for Aston Villa, didn't he?
yes, yes, he did. Yeah,
Yes, yeah, yeah, Stillian, yeah, DM that guy. Mm. But yeah, no, great players, great
Ian,
players.
Ian Wright played for Celtic as well.
Yeah, right at the end of his career
Yeah,
though. Yeah,
yeah.
when yeah.
They had a winger called Didier Agat. He was a wing back. He was very good, but
Oh, he was. Yeah, yeah. Left wing back, wasn't he? Didier Gata,
yeah, right
bald
wing
guy.
back, I
Yeah, yeah,
think. Yeah,
yeah. Right. Okay. Yeah,
the
yeah.
there's a winger I'm thinking of at Celtic. I can't quite pronounce his name, but he's a brilliant player.
Nakamura.
Yeah, him as well. Yeah, the Japanese
Nakamura was
international.
brilliant.
He's a
He
brilliant
was
free kick
brilliant.
taker.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was a brilliant
He
little
scored
player.
two free kicks against United, didn't he, in the Champions
Yeah.
League in the same season?
Hmm.
Ludo is it Ludogo Marakovic, I think. I can't quite pronounce his name, but he was a sensational winger.
Mm.
Do you know who ended up at Rangers too? Andre Kanchelskis from United. He went to Rangers. Remember him?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
he was brilliant. He was. I think he might have been the first right winger that I remember. But he went to Everton first.
yeah. Here's the Celtic winger I was thinking of. Uh, Ludomir Marakovic. Yeah, he was a Slovak. uh,
Okay.
player for Celtic, and he played between 98 and 2002. He was a brilliant player. For anyone who wants to look him up on YouTube, this is how old he is. He was born in Czechoslovakia, which of course doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah. They changed the name again, haven't they? I don't even think it's the Czech Republic anymore.
yeah,
I
it's
think they
called
shortened it.
Czechia, I think
Yeah,
it is.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, it's very confusing.
Um. So yeah, Celtic and Rangers would have competed in the Premier League in the 90s, no doubt about it.
Oh,
Like,
most definitely. Yeah, yeah. Even the quality of coaches like Dick Advocat, he managed the Dutch national team. He was there at Rangers. Yeah, a lot more money in that league back then.
yeah. And of course, Celtic got to the 2003 UEFA Cup final against Mourinho's
Hmm.
Porto. It was billed as Mourinho against Larsson because uh,
Hmm.
I think Larsson scored twice, but Porto got eventually won it in extra time.
Yeah.
And yeah, despite Larsson's quality, Celtic couldn't quite get over the line. But
Hmm.
nobody knew Mourinho at the time, but they just
Yeah,
soon would know about him the season after when they'd go on to win the Champions League. Porto.
defo.
Uh,
When they scammed a win against us, still haven't forgiven the officials for that.
yeah. Oh yeah, of course. Paul
Yeah,
Scholes
that's one of those that lives in my head rent free. That the wrongly given
when
offside to Paul Scholes.
three players were playing him on side and was given offside.
Yeah, yeah,
But these were the
yeah,
days where it was just a total lottery where you're relying on the
yeah,
linesman,
yeah. Basically.
having to guess. But
And then the
anyway,
shamelessness as well of Jose's celebration. I was like, oh my days.
I know, yeah, yeah, it was Tim Howard just pushed one straight out in front of
Hmm.
himself, like
Hmm.
Onana does nowadays.
Yep.
And
Costinha, the guy that scored for them.
Costinha scored. Yeah,
Yeah.
I just came into my head there, and I noticed it, a couple of days ago that I mispronounced Basuma, the Spurs midfielder.
Oh, gives
I,
Basuma. Yeah, but
I,
I knew who you were talking about though.
I was calling him Bosingwa, the old Chelsea right back. Do you remember him, the
Yeah,
Portuguese?
yeah, Jose Basingua. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
No, yeah, yeah. No, because I knew who you meant though. In Basuma. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Sometimes they just cause it can easily get mixed up with the pronunciations,
Yeah.
and he ended up talking about a different player from a different era completely. And yeah, these things.
Oh, and Lukaku has just secured it. It's 2-0 Napoli.
Yeah, well, that's it
Wow.
then.
Both United boys, United old boys doing the business. Wow.
Although I don't think Lukaku is particularly loved by people at Old
Nah, he's
Trafford.
not. But I mean, to be fair to him, his first season was good, you know.
Yeah, do you know what? He would walk into our team right now.
He would walk into this team. He would absolutely walk. He's 31 now, but listen, he would
Yeah,
walk.
we used to moan about him. If we
Yeah,
had him
yeah,
now,
yeah, yeah.
we'd be
Ranting
happy to
and
have
raving.
him.
Yeah, yeah, we'd be happy to have him right now. Wow.
Yeah,
You couldn't write the script, could you? Both United old boys, both
yeah.
on the score sheet today in the clutch game to clinch the title. Mm-mm.
Compared to what we have up front now,
Yeah.
Lukaku is like Pele, freak sake, you know. So with McTominay sealing the Scudetto, we shall wrap
Yeah.
it up there. Please,
Hmm.
everybody, like the video. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe to the podcast. If you're watching on YouTube or you're listening on Spotify or Apple, and tune in throughout the summer as we talk transfers and preseason games. And I shall see you next time then, Brush.
Yeah, I'll catch you next time, mate. Take care.